thing is people will engage based on a crisis, not on a pain. So, I say people will engage you on a crisis and they will sustain with you based on a vision that you build for them. Right. And so I try to figure out what that crisis is. So, it's different forms of questions. Me as a dad, I know a few things like, what prevents you from being present with your children? Right. Or when I meet someone who's like really in shape and I can tell they always hit the gym and everything, I'm like, what actually totally stops your focus when you're doing a rep, like one of your sets, and you're just so distracted, like you can't even complete your set?
What a good show coming your way. Super excited for this one. I've been trying to book a call with Tuan for a while now. We had it scheduled and I had to reschedule because I was in Costa Rica and just all kinds of stuff. But finally, we've got the episode. We've got it coming your way. We talked about some really, really intense things, whether that had to do with sales or just with team development or leadership and so on and so forth. So I'm really excited for you guys to get into this. But before you do, make sure you, as they say, smash that like button. Drop a comment, subscribe, share. Come on, I drew you guys a heart. That's how much I love you guys. But right now I'm focused on subscriptions. So let's get that rolling because there's so much more content coming your way. And we've got more ultimate closer shows. We've got other series. And so I'm really excited to bring all of that to you. But it's not going to happen if you don't subscribe first. But hey, enough about me. Let's get into the show. Hello, I'm Oliver Wolf, your heart-centered sales master and pack leader from the Wolf Syndicate Coaching, helping entrepreneurs increase their closing ratio by 10 to 35% permanently. And now I want to welcome you to another episode of the Ultimate Closer Show, where I take awesome closers out of their productive days to invest their time into you. Together, we'll talk about sales theories, philosophies, as well as actionable strategies, tips, and methods to make sure that you're closing more deals and winning at life. And so today on our show, we have another very special guest. His name is Tuan Nguyen. Am I saying that right, by the way? Tuan Nguyen?
Got it. Yeah, that works for me, dude.
All right, I'm winning already. So Tuan is a gangster Buddha, love the title, of DudeBuddha. And so Tuan Nguyen is an awesome and conscious bizdad and 3-time TEDx speaker, founder of HealthGenie, a multi-million-dollar practice advisory for dentists offering the all-on-4 procedure. And maybe we'll get into that a little bit. He runs a bizdad tribe called DudeBuddha to support bizdads in growing businesses while building deeper connections with themselves and their families. He also spreads positivity and hugs around the world with his apparel company called Let's Hug It Out and a printing company for clothing. He runs all this under 30 hours a week of work. Excited to understand how that's possible. Previously, he built and sold a marketing agency and a multi-million-dollar online directory, HealthGenie.ca. However, his passion is in bettering the community. His volunteer efforts have raised millions of dollars before 30 years old. Though he does not consider himself a professional speaker, he has delivered over 350 speaking engagements across the globe. Now, on a more personal level, I've known Tuan now for a couple years, and if I try to sum up the beautiful man that he is in one phrase, I guess it's just really the fact that, like, of all heart-centered entrepreneurs that I know, he's probably like the epitome of it. His heart is fully open. He leads with authenticity in all that he does, and he's never scared to call people forward. In fact, he really invites himself to do so, and he does it in such a way that, like, even if someone else had said it and you'd be offended, for some reason the way Tuan says it, you just feel loved. So super excited to have him here on our show. Really excited to dive in. Tuan, welcome.
Dude, wow, what an epic intro, dude. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share whatever I can share with your audience, bro. Let's rock this.
For sure, man, for sure. So yeah, what I like to do when I start is I like to dive right into something that people always need to wonder about highly successful people is failures, right? And it's so important. So I really want to know, like, right off the top of your head, what do you think is like just this tough failure that you faced? How did you feel as you went through it? How did you make it through? And then what would you say is the sort of the takeaway that our audience could have?
Wow, this is like an endless list, dude. I have a laundry list of failures, bro. In fact, I'm gonna start by saying this. I have what's called a resume of failures that I started since I was 21 years old. And the whole idea is, and there's a methodology to it, and it's just basically tracking all your failures and and learning lessons from it. And I could share a little bit later on what that resume failure looks like. I might be able
Sure.
to screen share, although it is password protected. You know what? I'll just describe how it's done. It's pretty easy.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
that sounds
now,
awesome already. I've never heard of someone being methodical about their failures. So I'd love to hear.
yeah. So as our fellow Canadian Avril Lavigne says, my favorite mistake. I think that's the name of one of her songs. Trying to choose one of my favorite failures. That's a tough one. So on a business front, since this is a bunch of professionals, I'm sure, but I'll first thing I have to say is that one of the biggest kind of core mistakes I made was not believing that my true self can actually be an asset to my professional life. So like a big mistake I made, which is like kind of like a bit of high level kind of mindset-y, although I like to get some tactical stuff too. But the truth is I find a lot of people hide behind certain strengths in their life, whether in business, relationships, or anything, programming behind a computer. And we create success out of those strengths. But we then start hiding behind our strengths and not facing some of the crap we have to deal with. And that was me. So one of my biggest failures is that I started succeeding. I built my business. I was doing volunteer work. And my network was exploding. And it came from a good place at first. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially these days, come from a pretty purposeful place. They really want to create meaning, impact. I mean, this is the generation especially. It's just it's
value.
impacting.
Like people are becoming a lot more conscious of the results of their actions.
Yeah, so it comes from a good place, but then it becomes a bit of an addiction somewhere. And the addiction either comes from, oh, great, I get to hide behind this thing I just built, so no one really gets to know me. I get to hide, so there's many different ways, right? So that's an example.
Yeah, it's like the mask of success. I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I say like first you hustle, but then you start hiding behind your hustle. And that's when it becomes a problem.
Interesting.
Right. And so for me, it was about acceptance. For me, it was about being rejected younger and then just really going on a path of trying to be accepted by everyone. And this is like very cliche, but it's true. And I think it's true for everyone. And it's always worthy of a reminder. And I started succeeding. I hustled for the right reasons, like all of us. But the mistake really came in was when I started making decisions that weren't fully aligned with me. Lucky though, it wasn't like drugs and violence and crime and stuff like that. But for me, it was getting involved with too many charities, too many organizations, going too many networking events, and spending time with people that didn't truly resonate with me, but I had a motive behind it. And at the end of the day, it was to keep on building on the empire that I built so I could hide behind. Right. So that's like a major fail. That is like probably the biggest failure that transpired into my marriage that failed, into when I feel I fail as a father, and when I feel I'm failing as a partner and an associate. So it happens on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. I feel like I failed somewhere, and I continually have to surround myself with the right people to shift that mindset. Right. And so if you guys are watching right now, especially if you're on fire, the first thing I'll say is, take a step back and chill for a bit and really make sure you craft that roadmap. So it's really reflecting what you want and what you want to build, right? And don't be afraid to say no to things that look so sweet. In fact, I mean, I could bring my sweetheart down right now. She's probably upstairs getting ready. But our conversation earlier, I said, I have a really bad feeling about this one particular engagement. And I said to her, like literally earlier, we won't say declined, but my gut says no, although this would result in a $100,000 month for me, right? And I
love where you're going with this. This is really important.
Yeah, so I pretty much closed the deal, but it's for me to decline, and I have that option now to say, do I want to move forward with this deal or not, right? And my gut says no, and I said to her, I would rather build something that's maybe like literally 1% of that, or 10%, whatever, what $1,500 a month this month would be, right? Over 100,000. Right? Like I rather do something that's going to yield that amount of money because it just means more to me, because I've gone down the path of incredible money and luxury and all of that, and it becomes a drug. It really does. So that's like the failure there. How's that?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think that's really, really important for people to hear. And the way that you're phrasing it is important, because it's kind of along the lines of the people who say like, I wish that people could experience full success to understand that it's not something they really want. And I think that you really did it well by saying like, it's something that people hide behind. It's a drug. It's all these kind of things. So that's a really great place to start. And again, it's still hard for some people to fathom, right? Like what does that actually look like? I just want to go deal to deal to deal. And so there's two things I'd like to dive into from what you said. One is, how do you say no? Right. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people need to learn, both in like regular life, but in sales too. Like this is a perfect example, right? Having the wrong deal in front of you, but having a nice dollar sign on it, it doesn't pay for it. Right. So I'd love to get into know a bit actually, if you want to dive into that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I basically try to think about the big picture. And when I think big picture, I don't necessarily think like in 5 years and 10 years. I kind of really live for today. Right. And that's really my style. And, I don't have great visions of the world, but I have great visions of every minute I live. Will it create something impactful that minute? Because I believe that when you drop a pond in the water, that little pebble there, little pebble in the water, or pond, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. The little pebble doesn't say, I'm going to create ripples. The pebble just says, I'm going to go down into this water at this very moment, this very spot. It has no idea that's going to create a ripple, right? And so I believe that focusing on the moment and being true is what's going to really create the true ripple. A lot of people who take the wrong deal is because they're attached to an image, or they're trying to prevent an outcome. Either way, it's a result, right? And so it's coming from not being in the moment and being true to who they are, which will lead to the other failure that I was going to mention that's a little bit more practical, which is big shiny objects and big shiny people. And this is where I like to, because we are watching this online, and basically where things are going is you really can do whatever you want with your life. You literally can live the life you want to live, thanks to the internet, thanks to an abundance of people all over the world that you can access through the internet. Yes. And thanks for the internet to allow you to be who you are, right? Who you are, and screw the people who don't like you, because there's enough people out there who resonate with your story, with your struggle, with your triumphs, and with your journey to continue to be the best version of who you are, right? So that is all true. But the failure for me in the beginning, of my recent journey, which is the DudeBuddha journey, which is helping fellow bizdads, was I was just watching all these big shiny people and big shiny businesses, and then comes along as big shiny tools, big shiny courses, big shiny conferences, and you're like, holy shit, man, everything's so fucking shiny now. Like, I can't believe this, right? And so, but I fell for a lot of those shiny stuff. I wasted my time on conferences. I wasted my time on courses. I wasted my time on tools I didn't even need yet. I just like, wow, I need this shopping cart tool, because I get to sell them on a smaller product that I love, but it's going to help people in the beginning, at least. I thought I have a great range of things I can offer to people depending where they are, and I want to basically offer to as many people as possible because I believe in it. But business does take time to build. Business does take time to understand, especially your own business. Like, it takes time for you to really get a true pulse of your business.
Oh yeah, for things to really get to the point where it's like moving at a generally constant pace, and like things are like systemized and all that kind of stuff. It becomes reliable for sure.
And feeling even comfortable in your own skin, and not deciding to do things because everyone else is doing it. Right. These are like very clear mistakes. I've done this with my current business. I had a business that was like teaching classes to wellness people, like yogis and all that. And it went well the first few months. Like, I was clearing what it looked like $1,000 an hour, but then it dropped dramatically, really, really fast. And I made a mistake because I assumed that I could just jump in with a certain reputation and everyone just buy my product. And it takes time to build trust. It takes time to do the right thing. It takes time to serve and prove your value. And so, keeping that kind of big picture of just human nature, then you won't fall into these traps, right? And so sticking with your beliefs, sticking with the good old saying, it takes time to build a business, right? It does take time to build a real sustainable business. You can get a cash flow of like $100,000 off a launch, but doesn't mean you're guaranteed success. Just because you make it through year 1 and 2 doesn't mean you're guaranteed success. In fact, most content marketers and coaches and consultants, they go on because I've studied this for the last 3-4 years. they go on a pretty good ride for about 3 to 4 years, and then they struggle with identity issues. They
Mm,
struggle with who they are. They're connected to the internet. They're always trying to serve everyone, and they care for everyone to a point where they stop
mm,
caring for themselves. And so these are all the things that all come together, right? So
mhm.
uh, so the truth is the possibilities are endless, are limitless, right? In the world these days for anyone to pursue something that they believe in, that they're meant to do. But it does take a very uh, uh, I guess highly focused commitment of you and believing yourself, right? Bring yourself the right people around you.
Yeah, and I
So
think something that you touched on there to sort of quickly jump in there that I
Lord, yeah.
really want to emphasize is because you sound like really having confidence in you and all that kind of stuff. But a big thing is really coming back to center of who you are. Because you said like, and it's such a good point. People lose themselves to the identity that they create through content marketing and through this. And because we always say, right, it's like, create the content that your perfect client wants to see, or that they would, listen to, or that they would connect with. And it's like, okay, but that means you're being someone else. You're not
Hmm.
being you. You're being what they need you to be, which is powerful to get the money across. But again, like you said, like, man, you could lose yourself in that stuff big time.
Yeah, for sure, for
And even
sure.
personally, I have conflict with that. Like, I'm posting some stuff of like to do with sales because, like, again, like I'm the sales coach guy. I want to make sure people understand that that's my role and so on. But then there's other posts I want to make. For example, I made one about like the depression that I had when I was a teenager and into the inspiration that I've now become. And it's like that doesn't really talk specifically to my perfect client, but that's me. And I want to make sure that I'm still there. I'm still representing me as I go about each day, each post, and so on.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Totally. Totally. I think trust your intuition.
Mm,
Like you want to give someone what they want, but that person needs to, in my opinion, truly vibe with you.
mhm.
Like, and I'll tell you why I didn't want to take on this client, right? I mean, they looked me up. I'm like, cool, they looked me up. This is great, right? Great, rock on, right? I like that. But here's the problem. Uh, they saw that I had a company called DudeBuddha, and my name is the Gangster Buddha, and they said, well, that's not professional.
Mm,
Right? And I'm like, that's cool and all that, and I could prove myself that I am. And I've met these people in person, and
yep.
so I know what they're looking for. I know who vibes with them. They're looking for someone who, in their eyes, reflects someone who's put in a suit, and that equals
Mhm.
value to them. And I wholly respect that. But right from the beginning, when I met them, I said, you know what? I was able to still close the deal, if you want to call that. I like to say I like to say is like merge the clients into each other's world. We merge into each other's world.
Mhm,
But I
mhm.
felt like it wasn't even merging. I felt like I was able to put like one of those like streets traffic control people there, and I just redirected the traffic onto my
Right.
highway.
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
the ideal way to, if you could say, close a deal, to me a sale is a true merging of clients where like two roads just come together onto the highway together, and we
Mm,
spend time together on the highway along our journey, and eventually we will either merge off of that highway and onto another highway. I respect that they don't have to be with me forever, but if
mhm.
they're going to join me on a journey that we're going to work together, it has to feel like we're merging
Totally.
together rather than like, yo, come this way, like come to this door
Mhm.
number 2 instead,
For
right?
sure. Snap my fingers to that.
Exactly,
No,
exactly.
it's a big point. I mean, this is sort of the stuff that I talk about when it comes to sales too, is it's not about like convincing people to buy. It's not about persuading people to buy. It's really just about influencing people to make the right, make a buying decision that's best for them, for you, and the planet, right? The win-win-win.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I really love that you're nailing that. By the way, I need to say you are influencing me. I see that sticker you have on your mic. I'm gonna go and put mine on here. I think I'm gonna go like
Yes,
right around here.
that's how you do
Does that
it.
look good?
I
Right there.
love it. That looks great.
Oh yeah. All right. There you go. That's a Tuan influence special right there.
Booyah.
But yeah, no. So um, I love the direction you're going there. I really want to even go into that a little bit more. So how do you um, basically determine that this person is someone who's going to merge, right? Maybe what are some thoughts, methods, some instincts? Yeah, just let's talk about that a little bit. I'd love to sort of see like how do you identify that? How do you make sure that's the case? And then how do you share with them to show them like we're definitely merging. We should work together.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular case, it's in the dental space, right?
Mhm.
And I met this client through a mutual friend, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard about you." And all I did was, listen, if you're interested, I could share with you how I've served my other clients. But primarily, really, if you want to share with me some of your top 3 struggles within your practice, I'll tell you right now if I feel I'm meant to solve that or not, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I said, I'll happily refer or decline the job. And I would say things like this. And if you guys are like having like 15 years of experience or even 10 or more, this is a line that I think is great to say because it's true too,
Mm-hmm.
which is I would say I've been in this game long enough to know that the moment I take something that I can't really do or I'm going to try to figure out as I go along, either the client's going to be really pissed off at me or I'm going to blow the client's money. It's just not going to work unless I tell the client, listen, this is new territory for me, but if you trust me, we can work it out together. Right. But that's the kind of communication that's important. But I typically say I've been in it long enough to tell you right now, if you tell me your top 3 challenges, and this is if someone introduces you under the context of potential engagement,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's already been pre-qualified,
For sure.
right? And so I'd say straight up. And then, but if when I was younger, I would say something different. So, well, I've been fortunate to be mentored by the right people,
Mm-hmm.
and through their mentorship, I'm not going to do what most young people do, which is just take on any bloody contract that pays. I want to make sure I'm honest with you to say, yes, I'm young. Yes, I'm new. But yes, I also know my superpowers. And yes, I believe in them. And this is what I can deliver. But there may be areas of your business that I feel I'm confident in figuring out. And this is with absolute confidence that I say this to you. So why don't you share with me your top 2 or 3 challenges, or your top challenge, is what people usually like to say, right? I have known that business people like to talk about a bit of marketing challenge, a bit of human resource. So it's like you could say top human resource problem, top marketing challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when they say it, you could respond honestly, say, you know what? Love that problem. Totally into it. Total my kind of game. Reminds me too of my clients. But there's this part of it that I have to tell you, I haven't figured out yet. But I am so excited to figure this stuff out. It's my thing. I just love this shit. Right. And that's to me my best way of trying to buy the trust of a qualified prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I love that. That's actually huge. So this is, again, something that I teach is leading with authenticity is really what you're doing. It's just being like laying it out on the table, like, heart right on the table, right? This is like what we were saying earlier, very heart, lead with heart on your skin sort of thing. It's very much what you're doing. It's just like, boom, here's the truth, the raw truth. Here's my intention. You're setting that container, and then it allows for, it just inherently creates trust between you and the prospect and such. And
Yeah,
I think
and
it's also super empowering too. Sorry to quick
no
cut you
worries,
off.
no worries. Yeah.
But it's super empowering just for yourself as well and for them, because then it allows you to prescribe to them a solution again, and not try to again just close them on anything to get a deal, but they feel like they're being prescribed something, not being sold something. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, I think whoever's watching, like starting your own podcast is a great way to build your sales skill, because I'm not just leading with authenticity, I'm leading with a question. So I always tell my friends, dude, the best way to sell is through question.
Yes.
So many people just talk the shit out of their clients when really the power is in the power of questions. Right. So ask the right questions, it'll lead you to a sale.
Totally.
Right. It'll lead you to merging a client, as I would say, right? So
For sure. Cool. No, yeah, I love that. So questions is definitely huge. It's funny when I create scripts with my clients, I spend so much time, or I get them to spend so much time designing their questions and then allowing for the rest to really be emergent. Because the fact is, if you're an expert, like if you're a real expert, right, whether construction, painting, dentist, whatever it is, if you're a real expert, whatever answers they need to hear will be inherent, right? It'll be like intuitive. You embody them. So there's no scripting needed. You just your shit. And so if you simply have the right questions scripted to derive the answers you need to know how to answer their needs, then you'll answer it perfectly and you'll get the client, because that's just how it works.
Exactly. There's one of my favorite questions, which was to this exact client, was that, listen, I'm not here to ask anything about your dentistry, but what keeps you up at night? Right. And he's like, okay. I'm like, or what prevents you from being present to your wife? it's like boom. It's just,
Oof, that's
you know.
so good. Oh, that's so good. I can literally relate to that though, because I'm thinking like there's some times where I'm like not super present with a kiss with my fiance,
Yeah.
and it's totally that. It's usually because I'm thinking about some kind of business thing or some kind of business problem or whatever, some kind of lacking in my life, and so
Yeah.
it's pulling me away from that presence. That is awesome.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, man. Because the thing is, people will engage based on a crisis, not on a pain. So I say people will engage you on a crisis and they'll sustain with you based on a vision that you build for them,
Mm,
right? And so I try to figure out what that crisis is. So it's different forms of questions. Me as a dad, I know a few things like what prevents you from being present with your children, right?
mm,
Or when I meet someone who's like really in shape and I could tell they always hit the gym and everything, I'm like, what actually totally stops your focus when you're doing a rep, like one of
mm,
your sets, and you're just so distracted, like you can't even complete your set? Like, what is it? We all know that when you work out, if you're stressed and you have anxiety, the results will not be achieved. So I
sure.
know that, right? So when I see someone is like, Jim, I know that, and I ask these questions because I just want to dive into their true crisis,
Mm.
right? And
I love it. Those are some cool, like, I've never even thought of questions like that before. It's definitely a benefit of hosting this podcast.
yeah. Well, that's why I recommend it. Podcast is like a life hack for growth. Like people have
For
no
sure.
idea.
I know.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Only for
um,
the viewers here.
yeah, man. So, okay, cool. I'm loving this. So, basically, I mean, I guess some more questions in general. One of the big ones, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to really, I don't know if you can really like explain this, but you mentioned intuition, right? And we sort
Mhm.
of went into it a little bit, and it's kind of an esoteric topic. Do you have a way to sort of ground that idea? Like, how do you know when your intuition is paranoia or actual like alarm? You know what I mean?
Yeah. First of all, I have to admit to myself I'm in an emotional state or I'm a calm state. Right.
Mm,
And so there are things you have to do to get to yourself to that state, like practicing, whether it be yoga, meditation. Like for me, what's peaceful is like just busting out some dance, when I feel like I just want to get present and or I watch a choreography and I try to mimic some of it. And just the fact
Wait,
that I'm
so
just
so what kind of dancing you do? This is really important.
salsa, hip hop,
There you go.
pop and lock. I'm not great. I'm not the greatest, but I just
It's
enjoy learning
expression.
it.
That's all it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
expression.
Yeah, I just know that it really brings me present, right? So whatever it is to bring you present and breathing properly, right?
Mm,
And then that's when I I'm willing to trust my intuition. Right? But
mm,
if I come in, I'm stressed, I'm in a state of anger or nervousness, then I know that I've heightened some kind of a hormone that I don't even know, and the intuition is more of a fear defensive versus someone who's at peace, who is at full confidence of who I am, and belief, and that's when I go like, all right, my intuition is kicking in the
mm,
best way,
mm,
right? So to me it's like it's all energy based, right? If your energy is in a good place, then the intuition is going to be leading you to a good place. But
mm,
if your energy is negative, your intuition will lead you to a place where you could run away and hide,
mm,
right? So pretty simple, but very difficult to build, I guess, in a way, like that skill,
yeah.
right? And
No,
not perfect.
yeah, and
It's
that's awesome.
practice.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like people practice this their entire lives. There's never a
Mhm.
time where you're really like, all right, I'm complete. Like, you know.
Exactly.
But that's cool, man. I really didn't know it was going to go in that direction. In the sense of like a very practical understanding of the fact that it's like your intuition will be wrong if you're in a wrong state. Your intuition will be right if you're in the right state. And it's kind of like saying like other people will say like in the right vibration or all that kind of stuff. But I like how you brought it to like I think I don't know if you said exactly like I know you said hormones. That's it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's true. Like if you're in a negative state, you've got things like cortisol and other like negative hormones that are running through your body that would for sure contaminate the way that you're interpreting the world around you. And so and through that misinterpretation, these intuitions will of course be from a state of like fight or flight, right? Um,
Absolutely, bro.
hmm, very
I love
cool.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. there was a point where I mean, it literally just came in and out. I'm just trying to remember what I say.
That happens for sure.
I mean, when it's so where like this is fire here. This is so much fun, right? So I'm loving it. But let's continue. What else is on your mind?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so basically, I'd love to think about. Um, so you've got a couple different businesses and
Yeah.
highly successful in different ways, both like monetarily, but I think one of the big things again is impact wise. And then of course in your bio it says like less than 30 hours a week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear about not just how are you doing 30 hours a week, but when was it that you were like doing the most amount of hours ever? And how did you snap out of it and realize this is like too much and then actually go to figuring out 30 hours a week? You know, like how did you get
Right.
to 30 hours a week? Not just how you're
So,
doing
so in my previous, let's say, so I would say like the pre-divorce and then the post-divorce. Okay.
it.
So,
Phase one,
pre-
phase two. All right.
yeah. So pre-divorce, it was a typical entrepreneurship life. You know, I would just run a business and, you know, work, build my team. You know, so my last business, I did scale it across the country, primarily through a sales team, actually. So the corporate culture was very important and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, honestly, I could literally spend like 2 hours with you to just like exactly describe how I grew a sales team and everything and trained them and all that kind of stuff, right? Even how I hired them,
Hmm.
which I think I'll talk about the hiring part in a little bit because that's the cool part.
Cool.
But yeah, I would work and a bit of a personal thing, which is first I was never able to hang on to any relationship.
Hmm.
I love the women I dated, and I still do. All the women who I've been with, and they're just incredible women. But I was pretty sad after every breakup, and that's the truth, right? Whether they left me or I left them, or it just didn't work out, whatever, we fell apart. I was pretty bummed out about it.
Hmm.
And then really, it was at the point of divorce and me trying to rise back and rebuild my life was when I thought, let me look back at my entrepreneurship life. And through this epiphany, I realized that there's so many hours wasted because we were taught to hustle, right? In
Hmm.
fact, I always say these days, unhustle yourself. That's one of my expressions, right?
Interesting.
And it's because
Unhustle
the
yourself.
the problem is that I argue with some really well-known people live on stage publicly, that the hustle message is the wrong message,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I would
It's
I would
emerging a lot for sure these days. Like people like Vishen Lakhiani are really like all about that. Like,
Yeah, and the thing is, we, especially in the tech space, you know, we're told to work 68 hours a week. If not, we're gonna like burn out.
yeah,
But here's what I know and I've seen with my own eyes is that so many of these companies, they set up a ping pong table and this and that, and we had our own little setup. And I still remember this one moment that was the big aha moment. Was it was like 7:10 and we had to basically do something for a client and evolve our product and determine which feature to build on our product. And it was like 11:45. I remember, like, I don't remember, one of our guys says, yo, it's 11:45. And the entire 4 hours we're like doing things like, you think so, sitting back, throwing a basketball on the wall and just
mm,
taking a break, let's have a snack, order some food, maybe, you know. And but then when he says, yo, let's decide now, we have 15 minutes to go because we want to be home by midnight, right?
mm,
And in 15 minutes we made our decision.
mm,
And I remember that day when I thought, geez, we could have easily made this if we said to ourselves at 5:30 or 7:30, wherever, 7:30, guys, we got to be
mm.
out here by 8 o'clock. Half an hour, we got to make a decision,
Ooh, I like
right?
where you're going with this. This is
And
cool. I like
so,
this.
yeah, so that led me to believe that if I had to redo it all over and everyone challenged me to produce the results within a space, then would I be able to do it? And I would say yes, right? If my investors and my shareholders says you got to produce these results, but you can't work more than 35 hours a week, figure it out. We'll give you
Mhm.
3 years to build an empire at 35 hours a week because us as shareholders get to make money and we get to also inspire a brand new type of business that is powerful, impactful, yet provides the operators of companies balance, and for them to do other things. Not like they're going to sleep the other hours, but they'll be challenged in other areas that matter to them, right? So I don't have a balanced life, meaning like it's not like I'm restful when I'm not working on my business. I'm heavily challenged, but I've chosen where to be challenged. I'm challenged as a dad, right? It's crazy raising kids. I'm challenged in my business. I'm challenged being a partner to someone. I'm challenged keeping myself fit and keeping the positive mindset. But I'm so happy I built my life so I could be challenged and busy as shit in these areas, right?
Yeah.
It's
Areas that you choose for sure.
yeah, exactly. So to me, when you talk about 30 hours, how to come from, first is realizing that a lot of people waste their time. Second is if people are operating under the wrong paradigm of thinking. So
Mhm.
shifting that paradigm of thinking and then making it work. And so of course, in the beginning when I limited myself, actually it was 26 hours. I didn't make as much money, but I knew what I need to make to pay the bills,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And that's what I did. I hit the bare minimum, but I challenged myself to be around people who are super efficient.
Mm.
And what I learned was, especially you guys here in sales, the most powerful skill in a way, one of the most powerful is sales skills. And
Mhm.
I realized that by applying my marketing and sales knowledge towards a product that would drive me higher margins for the same effort, that's way better than making $10 per sale. Like I make 20 grand per sale, right? And I focused on that, right?
Mhm.
And I thought I was new super high-end sales consulting, super high-end business consulting, advisory services, private equity. But then when I stumbled across using what I say the smallest part of my experiential brain, meaning like some people say, wow, you built massive companies, that's like your highest value. But and when someone says, would you run like funnels, I'm like, funnels, that's like peanuts for me. Like this is like amateur stuff. Like I want to do something more challenging. Well, that
Mhm.
was the wrong mindset. The right mindset is, what can I use in my toolkit to create the most value with the least amount of work? Right?
Mhm.
And so the most value for me was doing lead generation for dental practices
Mm.
for a procedure called All on Four, because each of it is $70,000, right? And the management fee associated to running those leads is really high. So I get to make a lot of money doing that, and it's not that difficult. Really, it's not that difficult. It's not like helping a guy who has 150 staff boost morale. That's a shit ton of work. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
for
work,
sure.
right? But
And
just
a lot
driving
of
leads and sales.
variables and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
exactly. Like it's just crazy. That's like super, super difficult,
Mhm.
but rewarding. But I'm like, I'm not in that space to do that kind of work. I want to be home with my kids. I want to go to the gym. I want to work wherever I want to work. I want to travel.
Mhm.
So, boom, this is what I created.
Yeah, and I think even to put onto that, it's also like, because some people might be thinking, I mean, probably not, but just thinking like, oh, you're just going for these bigger deal things so that you work less. But like you said earlier, it's not that. It's that you're freeing up your time to do things like kids and all that, but as in your bio, also to do philanthropic efforts and community
Mm,
efforts, right? So although you might not be working as hard on the money generation side of things, you're working very hard on the impact side of things. Now,
absolutely.
one thing I actually want to bring back to that you sort of alluded to, but that I think is huge, and it actually has to do. I'm listening to an audiobook right now called "A Beautiful Constraint: How to Transform Your Limitations into Advantages and Why It's Everyone's Business." And it's
Wow.
all about exactly what you were saying earlier, which is you went from like that meeting where that took 4 hours, that could have taken 15 minutes, because you put no constraint to it. You just used all the time, and it was super unproductive. Whereas what this book talks about, and what I've sort of intuitively embraced, but now this has a methodology to it. It's like most of, if not all, innovations have come from constraints.
Hmm.
Right? They've come from saying like, we have this much resources, X amount, we have this much time, we have this, da, 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 make it. Right. And then by using the power of the mind and proper questions and proper intellectuals and so on, we then design this beautiful, incredible product, or this beautiful, incredible solution, or whatever it is. And so I love that that's such a good point. And I was in the startup software situation as well, where, yeah, I was there 13 hours a day, but totally I'd spend a few hours foosballing,
Yeah.
eating this, that, the other. So it's like, man, if all we did was focus more on like, you need to do X result in X amount of time, then you can do whatever you want, then for
Exactly.
sure that results in more intentional success, right?
Hmm.
Which is sort of one of the notes I wrote. It's like, it's about taking intentional action, not just sort of throwing something out there and moving towards it, but really being intentional about the amount of time and the thing you want to complete in that amount of time, and asking yourself the question, well, how can I do it in that amount of time? Not, oh, this
Absolutely.
isn't enough time, and surrendering, but being like, how can I? What would it take?
Absolutely.
Who do I need? What do I need?
Totally.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm going to switch gears a bit because I'm
Yeah,
looking at the time. I want to make sure I drop as much as I can because I
please.
really care about the listeners here. And I don't know who is starting their own business or if they're just in sales for a company,
Mhm.
but whether they are either, what's really important to me is these days, having the social proof is really important. And so what you're doing right now is great. For example, is putting out content, building IP, building your knowledge, building your style, right? And so the point I was going to make earlier is first, there are access to all these tools to put your name out there and put a bit of who you are out there. What I like to use called the proxy advice, which is what you're doing now, which is you could give this advice any day, but it's so much better coming from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much better when you say, yo, spend time with my boy T, and this is what he shared, which is mind blowing. Like that actually creates a network of a community around your name. So build a community around you about what you do, even though technically, I bet you most of you guys already know what are all the right things to do, but no one's going to listen to you right out of the gate. People will listen to a community of people. And if you are the leader of that community, then bang, it's like that credibility raises, right? And the important thing is auditing yourself. What do you do to create your sales? Like I know what I do. I know what my friends do. And the fact that you can create your own system and saying, these are the step-by-step things that I do, then that's what's going to help you scale yourself. That's going to help you build a team, right? And that's what I did to build a team across. I started by auditing myself and saying, how do I kick butt in proposal writing? These are the elements of proposal writing. How do I kick butt in when I meet people in a crowd? What did I do to laser into the right people who I felt were going to be my clients?
Totally.
Right? And then how do I build a team? And how I built a team was I went on interests. So I said, looking for a hip hop dancer with an interest in sales. Looking
But
for
you went
a
on
DJ.
interests? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I went on based on on personal interest.
Oh, okay, got it. I thought you were thinking like that was a website or something. But
No, I went on based on personal interest. So when I put
Mm.
my job description out, I would say looking for a hip hop dancer or performing artist with a strong interest in B2B sales. Right.
That's
So
awesome.
when people
Never thought of
came
that.
into the interview, my entire team was everyone who had performing arts background. There were singers, there were dancers, but they're all brilliant people coming out of business college,
Wow.
even like doing their own thing. And they just had the right skills, right? But I rather work with the people who, when we finish and we deliver results, what we talk about is our passion. And what I want people to do is do what they're passionate about. So I get it when someone says, yo, I got to go to my dance practice. I'm like, all right, we built our whole team around a team of performing artists. Right. So that's how I grew my team. People want to be part of this company because it wasn't about a sales job. It was like, yo, someone's hiring me because they hire me for something that I'm passionate about. Plus I have a skill that will lend to the company.
Totally.
Right.
And that creates so much culture and like all the kinds of things that everybody preaches are so important in a business. It's like you almost answered all of them just with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of fun, bro. And then you love the people you work with. It's just so much fun. Right. We're sharing like YouTube videos of choreography and amazing singers and, beautiful art that we see. It's just, we just get each other. Right.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah, man. So you are right that we're coming towards the end of the episode. One of the things I love to always ask my wonderful guests is what's maybe an exclusive sales secret that you can think of that you'd love to share with the audience to guide them on their ultimate closer journey?
Wow. I shared one of it earlier, which is trying to ask the right questions for a crisis, right? But I guess another really big tip for me that I like to do is make sure you do the work around yourself, around where you could solve other people's problems, and identify the people who truly fit into your sweet spot, right? Once you go down there, you can niche down with all these value-added services, and that creates more of a lifetime customer value of who you are to them, right? So I do a lot of work on my customers. I do a lot of work on my market. I understand it like the back of my hand, and I think I am one of the best in my industry that knows it that well, right? So I'm all about data. The more data I have with my intuition, I think I always crush it.
I like that. That's kind of like almost balancing masculine, feminine kind of thing, or like structure and flow. And yeah, that's very, very cool. I like it. Good piece.
Exactly.
All right. So Tuan, if someone wants to find you or DudeBuddha or really any of the things that you're putting manifestation energy into, where can they go? How can they find you? All the fun stuff.
So you could go to DudeBuddha.com, DudeBuddha.com. You could email me at tuan@dudebuddha.com, reach out to me on Facebook, which is, I think it's just my name. I don't remember. Just look up my name on Facebook, I guess, and put Ottawa because I'm like John Smith.
Yeah.
Or you go to HealthGenie.ca and you could contact me through there as well.
Cool. Awesome. All kinds of different points. So,
Yeah.
so to recap the episode on this episode, the Ultimate Closer Show, we had the epic privilege to dig into some sales theories and philosophies and lots of variety of things, really just how to operate yourself and your business. And really just tips and methods to make sure that you're closing more deals here with Tuan. And so more specifically, we talked about things like learning to face your own crap and not hiding behind your hustle, which I can definitely see that I used to do and I'm stepping out of. Thinking big picture in the now, which is interesting because big picture inherently seems like longer term, but I love the way he talked about it being in the now. Big shiny object and people syndrome. Never lose your true identity in the noise, right? So like all these things that we're doing, we're putting out content and all that kind of stuff. It's very easy to lose our identity. And so just remember who you are and where you're coming from with everything that you're doing. Powerful questions to discover, a crisis to solve. That was cool. I really appreciated that. I'm definitely making that the mini clip at the beginning. Being in the right state so you can trust your intuition. Again, super cool, right? Understanding that like if you're feeling negative or sad or well, sad is okay, but just if you're feeling like seriously negative states, then of course your intuition will be contaminated by that negativity. And so going from overworked entrepreneur to really, the 30-hour entrepreneur who's more intentional, more focused, embracing constraints, and then finally hiring based off of interests and passion. That was also super cool. Really love this episode. It was super fun. So thank you so much, Tuan, for making it onto this episode. And everyone, as I'm sure you know, sales is an epic journey, and it's infinitely more difficult without a guide to show you the traps to avoid and the paths to excellence. So of course, if you're on your sales journey and realize that you do not want to do it alone, then let me be your guide or someone like Tuan, of course, but you know where to find us. Once again, Tuan, thank you so much for being on the show. And I wish everyone
love for the opportunity. Peace.
Because the more subscriptions we have, the more I will make content for you guys. I'm super excited for you guys to get into this. The whole 9 yards. You guys know what's up. Smash the like button.